Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. We are literally going to get straight into the topic for today, which is all about increasing your testosterone naturally. And I'm literally going to walk you guys through literally everything that I'm going to be implementing in order to maximize my own production of testosterone. And to clue you guys in a little bit firsthand about my journey and why I'm going to be increasing my testosterone is basically I'm a natural bodybuilder. I've recently done a show which it ended in May, and essentially my testosterone dropped considerably over the course of my comp prep, and also historically as well I've had fairly low levels of testosterone, and we know that testosterone it's not the be all and end all, but it is important for gaining muscle and recovering and maximizing being a natural bodybuilder. So if there's some way that I can maximize it and increase it in the long term within the normal reference range, then I'm definitely going to try my best to do that. So let's get stuck into things, and I'll start off with a little bit of numbers about what my testosterone has been in the past. So essentially the reference range for starters for the natural production is around 10 to 33 nanomoles per liter. And it is important to mention that there is going to be some discrepancy in testing. So what testing methods they use, who does the testing, even which company you go to, all that kind of stuff. So these numbers are fairly specific to me, but of course we can approximate them for others as well. So in October, I got my testosterone tested, and that was after doing a mini cut. I think I was around 89-ish kilos at that point, and my testosterone was 11 nanomoles per liter. And that's at the peak of health for me. Like, I was a good body weight, I was feeling good, my diet was nutritious. I was still almost deficient at 11 nanomoles, but because the bottom end of the reference range is 10. So that was a good indication to me that it was kind of only going to go downhill when I started comp prep. And surprise, surprise, in March, when I'd been dieting since October for my comp prep, so October, November, December, January, February, March, so about 6 months of dieting, my weight had dropped down to 78 kilos, and unsurprisingly, my testosterone was 1.6 nanomoles per liter, which is very, very low. And then I got tested again in May, more so just out of interest. I know it wouldn't have increased, but I was around 76.5 then, and my testosterone was 1.1 nanomoles per liter. And then, so basically I've been reverse dieting, or I've completed my reverse diet, and I've been gaining weight since May after finishing my comp prep, and now I'm about 81 kilos. I got a blood test on Wednesday, and my testosterone has come back up, which is really awesome. It's now 7 nanomoles per liter, so still not in the desired range. However, to be honest, I'm actually happy with how much it has come up, and I'm going to be running through a few things now as to what I can do to ensure it continues to come up. And also, I want to, at the end of the day, I would love it if I could get to around the 20-ish nanomoles per liter. Like, that's kind of my goal, but at the end of the day, it's very genetically determined. I'm just going to do what I can do and manage the variables I can manage to give it the best chance to be higher. I think it's important to also mention some of the key building blocks for healthy hormones, so to speak. And point number one here is healthy body weight. And these are the building blocks that, before you should even look at things like supplements, you need to be having the foundation first in order to maximize your hormones and your health in general. So healthy body weight is point number one, and that means not being too overweight, but it also means not being too underweight either. And the second point is nutrition, so ensuring that you have a healthy diet, you're covering all your bases in terms of the food groups, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, dairy, all the micronutrients, vitamin, minerals, all that good stuff. And essentially, we don't want to be deficient in anything, and we want to have a good variety of different foods. So that's going to cover our basis in terms of nutrient deficiency, because when we are deficient in certain nutrients, that's going to impair the production of certain hormones. And I'll get to that a bit later down the line. The last 2 points is sleep. and physical activity. So in terms of sleep, we know that that is incredibly important for maximizing our health and recovery. So ensuring that you're getting 7 to 9 hours per night of quality sleep. And yeah, ideally I try and aim for around 8 to 8.5 hours every single night, which is usually pretty consistent now, which is great. And the final point is physical activity. So I assume if you're watching this video, if you follow our channel, then you do engage in some sort of physical activity. So most people don't have to worry about that, but it is there as one of the primary foundations of healthy hormones. As long as you're covering all those bases, then you can pretty much be confident that you're doing the majority of what you need to do in order to have a decent testosterone level. And what I'm about to say next are some of the more specific variables that I'll be managing myself based on my history to try and maximize testosterone even more. So point number one is quite simple. I'm just going to continue to gain weight because the reality is I'm around 81.5 as of this morning. That's still quite a light body weight for me. And essentially I want to continue to raise that in conjunction with more muscle gain, etc., to try and maximize testosterone even more. Point number two is a bit more complicated. So in the past, I've been on a decent amount of food for quite a long time, like eating in excess of probably 3,200 calories for maybe like 5 or 6 years. And that has been, a large proportion of that has been carbohydrates. And those carbohydrates come from very nutritious sources, such as whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. As a result, my dietary fiber for a long time has been very high, probably in excess of 100 grams per day, or I would say a range of 90 grams to 110 grams per day, which is just unnecessarily high. And the danger of having very high dietary fiber is just that it interferes with nutrient absorption. And if I don't have a sufficient amount of certain nutrients, or if the nutrients aren't being absorbed adequately, then that is going to impair the production of testosterone, theoretically. There's not a huge amount of research on this at the moment, hence why I'm an N=1 case study, and I'm going to be seeing how this evolves in the coming months. So basically what I'm doing is I'm tracking my fiber more rigorously, and I'm trying to aim for about 15 grams per 1,000 calories consumed. So I'm eating around 4,000 calories at the moment, so that's going to be around 60 grams of fiber per day, and I'm going to hold myself to around 55 to 60 grams of fiber per day, and basically see how that impacts my testosterone combined with a few other things I'm about to mention. So the way I'm tracking my fiber is through MyFitnessPal. Essentially what you can do is go to your diary, scroll down to the bottom of the diary and tap nutrition, and then you can, it should list dietary fiber in there. And you can even tap on dietary fiber, it'll break it down per meal, which will also be very useful. One thing I will mention is if you're using MyFitnessPal to track this, which is probably one of the easier methods, just make sure that when you do scan or enter a food type, that it actually includes the dietary fiber in that food type, because sometimes when people add them in, they might just add the calories and the macros and forget about the dietary fiber. So just be careful of that. And leading on to my final point, which I'll be trying to manage and maximize, is there will be some supplementation. So this kind of coincides with the dietary fiber and how I potentially have been not deficient, but not at an optimal level of certain nutrients. And 3 nutrients that are quite important for testosterone. I won't go into the mechanisms because that's pretty boring, but it's essentially zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D. Probably more so vitamin D out of those 3. And interestingly enough, on the blood test I recently got, my vitamin D was actually slightly deficient, which is surprising since I walk in the sun every day and I live in Australia. So anyway, and we know that vitamin D, it's difficult to obtain your nutrient requirements through food alone. It's mainly through sunlight exposure. But the reference range indicates that it should be at least 49 nanomoles per liter. I was at 43, so I am slightly deficient, which definitely is not going to help my testosterone by any means. So my goal is to start supplementing with vitamin D at about 40 IU per kilo of body weight, and I'll see how that goes. and I'll try and probably supplement that at my breakfast time because I have a decent amount of dietary fat in that and also some calcium in there. And then the other two minerals I'll be supplementing with is zinc and magnesium. So zinc I'll be supplementing with about 5 to 10 milligrams per day, and magnesium about 200 to 400 milligrams per day. And those are both the zinc, that's elemental zinc, and magnesium. Most magnesium sources are fairly decent to supplement with, but feel free to comment or message me on Instagram if you have any questions about that. But essentially, what I'm trying to do here to kind of summarize is give myself the best opportunity to raise my testosterone, supplementing with the relevant nutrients that I think might be beneficial, lowering my dietary fiber to try and maximize nutrient absorption. And I am going to continue to do a bit more research into dietary fiber and its impact on certain hormones. And of course, I'll be gaining weight on top of all of this as well, having a nutritious diet, sleeping well, training, all that good stuff. So I will be getting another blood test done in 3 months. And I would really hope, I would honestly be surprised if I'm not back in the normal reference range at least. But I'm going to wrap up here. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, and fill me in on what you might want to see in the future. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya. Driving down the